Or okay, take that back. Whoop, rewind that.
I want to read through the whole Bible this year. What is your advice on how to approach it?
Wow. Well, how do I make and keep a New Year's resolution?
I'd like to apologize to Wham. I'd like to apologize to Phil Collins. 1 2 1 2. What your boys want to do when I come through with that girl Shaylyn 4-2. Big G Ford is on the microphone. Rap about that God that don't leave you alone.
Oh.
Shaylyn, go ahead. Kick us off. Let's roll.
It's always got to be me.
Huh? No. I mean, do you want me to do it?
What? Let's change it up.
I need to carry my weight in the relationship.
Yeah,
you know
thank you. I didn't want to have to say it.
Yeah. You've been going above and beyond. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dialogue podcast. Here with my lovely wife, Shaylyn Ford.
Honey, you did a great intro.
What was so great about it?
Be
energy, very specific.
The energy behind it was fantastic.
Okay.
Your enunciation was great.
Okay.
It felt very warm and welcoming.
Okay.
While at the same time also holding like a commanding presence. It was great. See, was that specific enough?
Wow, I'm feeling very affirmed right now.
Good, you should.
And it was instinctive. It wasn't even like premeditated.
No, it's just what I was feeling. It's what I heard in the moment.
Gosh, we need to do this more often. This is really awesome. Hey. So today we are here, new year.
That's right.
New year, 2025. We're going to be looking at some questions that have come in. I've been told they have a little bit of a New Year's flavor to them.
All right.
Before we do get into like maybe the more serious, helpful questions, you want to do something fun?
Let's do it. I'm always up for fun.
So, saw this, I don't know if it was a reel or a meme or something the other day, but it was basically saying you learn more about a person, not by the songs that they like, but by the songs that they hate.
Oh, man.
All right? So it's like, what's your favorite song? That'll tell you something about them.
But not.
But you learn a lot.
No, I completely agree with
about
that.
songs like somebody just can't stand a certain song.
Agreed.
Right? So it doesn't even have to be like one song, although it could be one, but maybe a few. Or like, what are some songs that you really, they upset you? They frustrate you, they grate on your nerves, like put you in a foul mood.
Well, first of all, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one because some people are.
Bro, stand on business.
But I'm going to stand on business.
Yeah.
Anything by Phil Collins. I can't. There's something about his voice and even like his musical stylings. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Even I can hear it calling in the air tonight.
I hate that song.
Even when the drums come in and everything?
That's the worst part.
What?
I hate that. See? I know, like, people are going to immediately shut this
No,
off.
I don't hate you for it. I just...
But everybody else will.
No, they won't. Some might.
And I understand. I get, like, he's obviously many people's cup of tea. I just can't. I can't do it.
What is it that... Can you...
I have really struggled to pinpoint exactly what it is.
Okay, let me take a shot.
We need to have my dad on as a guest because he's, like, the one other person that gets it.
Let me take a shot.
Go for it.
So I feel like his voice sounds very produced, like in terms of like when he's saying like it's like I don't know the technical production language, but
but I know what you mean, and I don't particularly.
Does it not feel authentic to you? Does it feel like?
That might be part of it. I feel like more it's just I really don't enjoy the tone of his voice at all. Like it for some reason is bothersome to me.
Okay.
I feel mean
sorry,
I'm
Phil.
not. I know.
Sorry, Phil.
Phil, I'm not trying to take you down, bro.
Phil's a faithful listener, by the way. So,
not anymore.
Yeah, Phil. It's nothing personal, Phil. It's nothing personal. She just hates the tone of your voice and pretty much detests your artistry. But aside from that, you're a great guy.
I just said it's not my cup of tea. Obviously, it is for so many people, and he's had a wonderful career.
Yeah.
And God bless
probably
him.
A good dude, maybe.
He seems like a good dude from what I've seen of him. I'm sure he's a lovely human being.
You know what, Phil? This is an open invite for you to come on to the Dialogue podcast.
And say everything you hate about my voice.
No, I mean, just explain yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Explain yourself.
Come and be held to account.
So you don't like Tarzan?
No. Oh, wow. I know. And that's what everybody's like, not even the Tarzan soundtrack. No. I can't.
Well,
I can't
do
it.
When you get something in your crawl as they say.
It
It's hard to
like
get it out.
activates some sort of irrational
Yeah.
rage
At
in
at
me
this
that
point, it's
I
a
can't.
trigger.
Yeah.
Yep, I get
And
you.
I can't. The one other one, since we're kind of fresh off the Christmas season, I'll throw in a Christmas song. There are a few, but a big one for me. I cannot stand Grown Up Christmas List. I hate that song so
No
much.
more lives torn apart.
I-
Wars would never start.
It's so, for me,
Dang, dude.
it's such a like,
I mean, that's probably like, isn't that an important song in the world though? Like, isn't that like saying that,
No.
everyone would have a friend?
okay, listen, it's not that I don't want those things. I think
Okay.
those are all wonderful things to want. But I feel like it's so, like, let me just sing a little dreamy song about it instead of like going out in the world and doing something. It
Yeah.
feels patronizing.
Got
It
you.
feels, yeah, I don't know what the word
It
is.
doesn't bother me as much. One, I think that I kind of like the melody, but two,
That's the other thing is I very much dislike the melody. And so you put those two things together and it's like, okay, stop.
well, but I think the concept, it's a grown up Christmas list. So it's like, hey, when I'm a kid, I just want toys. And as I get older, I realize how complicated the world is, how much pain there is out there. And so forget the toys, forget the superficial things. I wish the deeper things could happen. Like
course.
people wouldn't kill each other.
I get all that.
Yeah.
I get all that. And
It's just-
I want all of those things.
By the way, I'm not trying to judge.
It
You're
feels
allowed
like
to
you're
not like.
violating the listen and don't judge rule. Like,
You're allowed to not like what you don't like. I'm just.
it just feels very. I can't think
Well,
of the word.
it's not a Christmas
not patronizing,
Yeah,
but
it's
but
not a
like,
Christmas carol. It's just a song at Christmas. Like I wouldn't.
It's
It
not
wouldn't be on my loop. It doesn't belong with old Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr.
sure, but it's like it feels like I need you to help me come up with the word because it's
It feels like a Lifetime movie in a song.
yes, there it is, nailed it. I don't have to say anything. That is it. And it's like, okay, come on now. Like, I get it. Some people love like the Hallmark
Yeah.
movie vibes, and it's the same thing. Or
You're more of a
it bothers
diehard.
me.
You're more of a diehard type person.
I am really making myself a hated human in this. You set me up to be hated.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
No, yeah, trust me. For every person out there who loves the Hallmark movies, there are people that feel the way you do. You just got to be who you are, man. People appreciate
I'm
authenticity.
owning it, and I get that people like you'll love me or you'll hate me. I'm just saying you set me up to be hated by a large swath of
This is a
humanity.
good exercise for all of us to disagree with someone without,
Okay.
aiming
All right,
vitriol
sure.
at those people.
I hope that they can.
You know what? People can feel about you the way you feel about Phil Collins. I don't know. It's that you don't agree. I'm not with it, but I don't. You don't have any ill will. You don't hate Phil Collins.
I get your point. Okay.
You don't hate Phil Collins.
No, I don't. I don't
You
at
would
all.
absolutely help that guy if he needs some help, right?
And of course.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I would go and shake his hand and say like compliments
Kudos
to
to
your.
you. You tip the cap.
Well, and yeah, I mean,
The man's worked hard.
I haven't done what he's done in that space. So obviously I'm straight up just armchair quarterbacking it, and I'm just saying it's just not my style.
Right.
So it's yeah.
It probably has less to do with Phil
right.
than like repressive things from your childhood.
Okay. Well then let's go ahead and turn the tables
right.
here, shall we? It's your turn.
Oh, for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning to talk about me.
I don't care. You have to now. You put me in the hot seat.
all right,
People
well-
need to figure out what they disagree with you on.
So I've said this before, but since, we're after Christmas here, but that last Christmas I gave you my
Yeah.
heart. The
Wham.
very next day
Isn't
you
it
gave
Wham?
it away. Just wham, yeah.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
No.
It doesn't
it's
do anything for me. And it's kind of like, what? Like, why do I want to
It
hear
is
about?
amazing to me that became like a Christmas classic. How?
Christmas is about nostalgia, and so I think for some people, if you were like grew up in the 80s or something, maybe that has some kind of like it takes you back to 80s Christmas or something.
But how did it even get big in the 80s? Like,
Maybe it wasn't that big in the 80s. Maybe it got bigger
good
after.
question.
Like we were looking at All I Want for Christmas Is
Yeah.
You. We were looking at the storyline
Yeah.
from that, like the
And,
guy
like,
who produced it.
yeah.
And it wasn't as big when it came out. It's way big. It's gotten bigger
now
every
that
year.
it's what, 25, 30
Yeah.
years old, now it's a huge song.
Reminds you of your childhood or something.
No, that's fair.
But yeah, I don't want to hear about, somebody breaking your heart the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know, man.
And it does feel like he's whining about it a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
And I don't like just, last Christmas, I gave you my heart, and the very next day, you gave it away. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's never set well with me.
Yeah.
The other one I don't like, and this is where I may have some people coming
Okay,
after me, but
okay.
bring it on.
Okay. Stand on
Is
business.
that chain smokers?
Yeah. And Halsey. That's
on my
yeah.
backseat of my
Yeah.
Rover, and I got and then over, and I got. It's like, ugh.
That is really what.
Dun, 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 dun.
So
Dude,
you're saying it's
stop,
the repetitiveness for you?
Stop it. It is awful. Overly repetitive. I don't like anything overly
Yeah,
repetitive. Like,
no,
dude, I
that's-
got it like the second time.
Right.
You don't need to say it the third time.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Like, wow. And then just again, that is like, I feel like a toddler could have written that melody, and then just like, hey, let's just come up with 3 words that rhyme. Mm-hmm. Baby, pull me over in a backseat of a Rover. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you putting into the world, bro? Chainsmokers is right, dude. You're making everybody sick, bro. That's like emphysema to our culture. Stop.
Of the music.
And then people were getting into it. Like, I'm just
It was
like,
a very huge song.
no thanks.
It was.
It wasn't even like
funny.
fully like offensive. There's obviously a lot more offensive lyrics than that.
Sure,
It just offended
Your
any artist,
sensibilities.
any actual artist.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going in, dude. I'm going
I
in
love it.
today.
I love it. You
Let's
are
go.
owning your.
It's a new year.
Yeah. You're owning your opinions.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
I feel like at this point we should probably jump into
We probably should
actual things that are beneficial
about
to the general
something.
population.
substantive.
Please write in and tell us what your song, like your least favorite song is, because I do feel like that's very telling. We want to know about you too. What are yours? Did we miss one, or are we wrong?
Oh, we've probably
why?
missed a bunch.
Yeah.
Brandon, do you want to add to the conversation? Is there anything
I'm
that
curious what yours is.
There's none that come to mind. Well, there's that one song that's like, I really don't care.
Oh, yeah.
I was on a cruise one time and a girl sang that for karaoke. It was so bad. So it's like I can't.
I
don't
think
know
there's
that
a
one.
lot in the repetitive nature of that one too. I agree. I think that's some of the
I
same.
don't know that one.
We'll have to
I love
find it
pop
and pay
music,
for
but I
it.
don't like when the like production isn't like intelligent. Like when it's
Yeah.
not like good musicianship, it's just like boring to me.
It's like somebody prompted AI to write a song, but they're like, "Hey, write a bad pop song," and then AI wrote a bad pop song, and anything that feels like that's how it came into the world.
Yeah.
I used to hate all country music, but now I appreciate it.
I
Bro,
was going to stay
we
away from
need to
that.
get off of
Yep.
that. We
I'm
need to
gonna
get
move on.
off of that.
All right. Moving into the questions so
Yep.
that
All right, let's go.
I don't get
What do
burned
we
at the
got,
stake.
Brandon?
By the way, I got a just for the listeners at home. Shaylyn hates country music. I
Dang.
wow.
Is that not true?
Okay, there goes
Dang.
my safety in public. Thanks a lot.
Dang.
No.
I think we've actually
it
talked
is-
about this before.
Have we? Yeah.
I think
No,
we
it's
did talk
true.
about
I
this.
I can't.
Yeah, Country Boy Summer. I was talking about that.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. I truly can't.
it's
I'm
been-
sorry,
it's-
guys. Again, I can appreciate that it trips some people's trigger. It's not for me. Sorry.
I got a new sound effect for when the timer's up.
Oh, do tell.
You ready?
I am. Oh, it's cute.
That's
It's a little
good.
microwave
That's
timer.
helpful. Yeah,
I like that.
That's good. Good call.
Love it.
I
Okay.
also got our song programmed in here.
Oh.
I've been working hard.
Go ahead. Bars.
1 2 1 2. What your boys wanna do when I come through with that girl Shannon 4-2. Big G Ford is on the microphone. Rap about that God that don't leave you alone. Everything I spit is for Christ's sake. That's why my rhymes are iller than a stomach ache. Let's be real and let's talk plain. Outside of Jesus Christ, the world don't mean a thing. We're going to abandon and my God never shuns. And he loves you so much that he sent his only son to die on the cross for all of his sin. And that's where my God's love truly begin. You never been high till you hit the Holy Ghost. And you never been drunk like a Holy Ghost toast. So I don't mean to boast, but my God's a real deal. Fill you up like 5 value meals. My God also heals, make his spine tingle, giving out gifts like his name was Chris Kringle.
Whoa!
Let's go.
Somebody's been watching
Let's
a lot
go.
of rhythm and flow lately,
Yes,
and
sir.
it is.
Let's go.
People are gonna think that was planned. It
Let's
definitely
go.
wasn't.
I hope my face shows that it was not. Like my mind is
go.
blown right now. Chris Kringle line was.
I need a nap now, actually. I need a nap.
That was good. Yeah, he just used like all his brain power. Great. Now answer some questions.
All right.
Let's do this.
Let's
ready?
do it. Yep.
Let's do it. All right. 10-minute rounds as a reminder for everybody. We're going to answer the question. It has 10 minutes until the timer goes off. If it needs overtime, we can give it some, but We try to stick to that 10-minute lineup. So, question 1, how do I make and keep a New Year's resolution? It's a good one. You got any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think probably first thing you're going to want to do is look in the rearview mirror a little bit at other resolutions that you've made and what has been your success or lack of success with that process, right? So I think it's a good habit to go, hey, it's a new year. Let's take a look at life. Obviously, it's not a magical event that you go to a new year, but it's just a good time to step back, look,
Turning of the
take a
page.
moment, turn the page. Where do I need to hit the reset button? What do I need to get some things under control, whatever it might be, right? So I think you're going to want to look and go, like, this feels a little bit like maybe a person who has had a hard time doing that, like sustaining their resolutions, right? Which is pretty common. You go to the gym in January, things packed. February, it's then right back out to what it was. So I think you're stepping back and going, why have I not been able to sustain some of these important things? A couple, I would just say, practical pieces of advice. So one would be, don't try to do too much. I think sometimes people go.
My first thing. I think sometimes people make very grandiose things for themselves that would be very difficult to stick with instead of it being a really practical, level of some like attainable item.
Or try to do too many different kinds of things.
Yeah,
right?
have a whole list of them.
Yeah, here's what I'm gonna do in my finances. Here's what I'm gonna do in my relationships. Here's what I'm gonna travel, and here's what I'm gonna do with my body. And it's like, I remember we read a book as a staff, and we actually used internal language quite a bit. But it's called The 4 Disciplines of Execution, and it was either the first or second chapter. It talks about staying focused on the wildly important. So it was like, hey, if you make like 2 or 3 goals, you're probably keep 1 or 2. If you try to do 3 to 5, you might get 1. If you try to do 10, you'll get none. So I think it's like to go, hey, if I was going to do one thing this next year, maybe do 1 or 2, and stay focused on those things. So maybe editing is helpful. The other thing I would say too is, what are the habits that I need to develop in order to bring this goal into fruition? So let's say it has something to do with your money, and you're like, I want to get my finances in order this year, right? Okay, so you might do things around budgeting, accountability. Maybe you're going, hey, I want to be more disciplined in my spending. I want to save a certain amount of money. Well, you're going to have to look then and go, what habit do I need to add? Whether it's a weekly or a monthly habit of, looking at my spending and actually sitting there and doing the math, or, whatever it might be. Or if it's, again, physical, if you're going like, right, I want to get my body into good health. Well, again, if you try to do, I'm going to change my diet, and I'm going to start working out at 6 a.m. and I'm going
to save all this money, and I'm going
to do all this. Like, it might be like, hey, you know what? I want to remove sugar from my diet, right? And maybe that's too hard. So I'm going to remove sugar from my coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start there.
That's right.
So I think if you start to go, what are the habits that I would need to get and to put in place and develop in order to get to where I want to go, and then bring it back down to bite-sized chunks, right? Don't try to eat the elephant in one big bite.
That's right.
One little bite at a time.
That's exactly what I was going to say is the idea of like habit stacking, right? Start with one thing, and then it will give you some momentum to go into the next, and then the next, and pretty soon you've got a snowball rolling that's actually helping you achieve bigger goals. 2 thoughts. Number 1, on the financial one, a very practical tool. We are not like in any way affiliated with this company or anything, but just a practical tool that has been helpful for me in the past is an app called Envelopes. So think of the word envelope, but instead of EN at the beginning, it's M as in money, Envelopes. It basically helps you take your money and kind of break it up into different digital envelopes, so to speak, and helps you keep track of like, okay, I've spent this envelope down really far. There's not much here. If I need to transfer from this one, I can. But it just kind of helps you keep track of your spending in different areas. really simple tool to use and very, very practical. I've found it very helpful over the years. So if somebody's looking for something like that, that's a good place for you to start, and just keep it really easy and simple and not try to overcomplicate. And then a book that's super helpful if you're looking at the idea of starting with small habits and trying to build them up in bigger things is Atomic Habits. I'm trying to remember the name of the author. Anyways, Atomic Habits, great book. Very helpful at helping you kind of like understand how your brain works, so you can start breaking it down into smaller pieces.
James
Clear? Is
Clear?
it James Clear? It might be. I know he's a Denison grad. Shout out to Denison.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
James Clear.
Okay, there you go. Nicely done.
Thank you.
So much better with names than
I was
am.
going to say James Cleary, but you.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
Don't be giving me all the glory.
Yeah, you get 99%. I'll take my 1. But I think, a perfect example for me this year was like I wanted to become more organized. I'm not a perfectly organized person. I'm definitely better than I was a year ago. And you start with small things. So I really wanted like my house and my calendar to be a little more organized. So like on the house front, like it's kind of hard to do, just the nature of our family. It's constantly being torn apart. Like I go to bed with a clean house and I wake up with a dirty one. No exaggeration, because the boys are up, 5 a.m. and they've just started taking things apart. So it's like, okay, how do we make this more manageable? I take it section by section of the house, and it's like, okay, I'm going to have these really organized junk drawers, that like normally somebody has that drawer that's like wild. Ours is like labeled and has organizers in it and whatever. I go drawer through drawer in the kitchen and get things labeled and organized. And then it's like, okay, now this functions well. And it's something that our family can, easily put things back where they go. And you label even the inside of cabinets, like this is where these pots go. This is where, and so you just start taking it piece by piece. And once one area is generally running well, it'll start staying cleaner, which allows you to focus on the next one. And so it's just kind of been things like that.
I think it's changing your focus from the goal to the habit.
That's right.
So if I focus on the goal, right, and I
can
don't
be
focus on the
overwhelming.
habit, then it's like you can kind of lose steam. The other thing I would say too is if you kind of fall off the wagon of the habit, like get back on. So it's
And
like,
don't beat yourself up over it. Just get back on.
yeah, I think a lot of times people probably bottom out more than they need to because they go, oh, see, here I am again,
Right. They make it a condemnation of their
Yeah,
character.
yeah. So if it's like, you know what, I want to keep my house clean more, so I'm gonna start this habit where, we empty the sink every night. We whatever. We want to do it every night. Well, you miss a night, or you miss a couple nights, and it piles up, and you don't go, well, see, I can't do it, therefore I quit.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just get back on. Right?
I mean, life happens.
Yeah.
Multiple family members
100%.
get sick. You're going to get behind,
Just commit to the habit, stay focused
that's
on
right.
it, get back on when you fall off. And I think, doing that and seeing that as a win, not just when I attain the goal,
That's right.
I think is probably, tends to yield better results.
I
But
agree.
give yourself grace and
really
again,
good.
look back and go, what can I learn about myself? Maybe I set my goals, it was maybe unrealistic. It was too much to it. The other thing I would say too is accountability. Do you have somebody, hey, let's do this together and let's hold each other accountable, let's encourage each other. And it's not just you, right?
Yeah.
Like by yourself. And again, those just a few preliminary thoughts.
And I think there are a lot of really good goals. Like I think people tend to focus on the same few things all the time, right? Like it's something financial, something physical, something, whatever. Think about considering some other goals too. Another one for me that I just kind of had in my own head this year was like, I want to work on my first reaction not being defensive if someone is trying to tell me something that could help me. And,
good.
that can be a very hard one, right? And especially depending on your wiring or how you grew up or whatever, like that, it can be hard to turn off a knee-jerk reaction. And so for me to be like, nope, this person said something, there's truth in that. Not that you don't have dialogue back and forth if you're like, well, I want this person to understand where I was coming from or whatever. I'm not saying you just carte blanche, people
Accept
can
whatever
say whatever.
they say, right? Yeah,
But
no.
let your first response be curiosity or receptivity or considering what they said. And if it's like, no, they're right. Like I missed that.
Yeah.
Then just being able to nah, you're right.
Or they may not be
I
fully
hear that,
right.
and thank you for bringing it up. And like,
Yeah, they may not be fully right in everything they said, but there may be a nugget in there that's really useful and helpful.
That's right.
No, that's deep. That's a really good, like, I think we all probably naturally are triggered to defensive when we hear something negative about ourselves or some kind of critique or whatever. That's a very natural reaction. But to have the discipline to go, hey, I pretty much shut it all down when that happens, and I'm probably missing some really helpful
Right.
growth opportunities.
Yeah.
So to go, I want to sort of retrain my mind to not just
To look for the growth
fall
opportunity
in
first.
line with
That's
the
right.
defensive feeling and go, all right, how could I, in a very systematic way, step back, listen to what's being said. Maybe I didn't like how it was said, but I want to really find out what point is
Right.
are you trying to give me here, and then try that on for size and see if any of it fits. That's great. I love that.
All right. Next one. Unless did you need overtime? Or are you good?
No, I'm
All
good.
right. Next one. What is your advice for me to get in better physical shape this year? I couldn't think of anybody better to answer that question than Greg Ford.
Oh no, I need to lay off the Tostitos right now.
okay.
I've been stress eating.
Stop it. You have not.
I
You've
have.
occasionally allowed yourself to have a Tostito. Like, let's stop pretending like you sit around and binge eat bags.
If Tostitos are your cheat meal, then you're qualified to talk about how to get in better physical health.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
a
you.
healthy night for me.
I mean, this guy's like, I should probably eat less of these salted nuts I've had recently because it's a lot of sodium. You're eating a handful of nuts. You didn't eat 5 ding dongs, or okay? Take that back. Whoop.
No, that's right.
rewind
That's
that.
right. That's what they're called. That's what they're called.
I know, but I don't want Anyway,
All right.
what's another one?
They're all bad. They're all bad.
They are all bad.
What about those little Debbie
Twinkies.
Christmas trees?
Twinkies. Do they make those anymore? Do they make
Yeah,
those?
yeah,
They
yeah,
do make
probably.
I don't
Twinkies.
even know.
I feel like they should be illegal.
All right. Zebra pies,
There you go.
oatmeal cream pies.
Okay, there you go. All right,
I don't know,
move
dude.
on.
This is-
Move on.
Okay, what is your advice for me? Okay. So disclaimer: I'm not a trainer. I'm not a certified trainer.
But you're someone who's been committed to physical health
Yeah.
for the entire 20 years I've known you and before.
Yes.
So
Personally, fitness and exercise and everything, it helps me on a lot of fronts because it's one, it kind of keeps me in touch with my youth. I grew up playing sports, so that feeling that's like I'm out of breath, or that almost like feeling of exhaustion, or again the lactic acid, whatever, like all that stuff. It kind of makes me feel connected to being a young guy, right?
Okay.
And I'm not young anymore, so it's a nice feeling.
ancient was the word that came
Middle
to mind.
age, 44.
Okay.
That's
pretty
You can
darn young.
decide whether that's young or old.
You need to listen to Gary Vee. He'd tell you you're a baby and you're just getting started.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I find that. I also, I would say in my family, I think, people have been open about some struggle with like mental health and those type of things. And I don't think I've ever had like major bouts of depression or those type of things. But when I don't exercise, I start to find my brain starting to get a little funky. I start getting kind of down. I start becoming a little more pessimistic. And the more I do exercise, I think something about those endorphins, something about a little bit of self-respect, some of that, you get those benefits, energy levels up, all of that. So I think it's a good resolution. It's kind of vague. Okay, better physical shape. What does that mean? Like for somebody, they're going, I don't like where I'm at. I want to get better. So for some, that might mean improving their stamina. I want to be able to, have more energy throughout the day. So that might be that. To someone, it might be they want to ultimately build some strength, build some muscle in their body, or some might want to lose weight, right? So I don't exactly know. Like in some way, you're going to want to measure what you mean by that and set a goal. Like, are getting blood tests? Like, do you know where your levels are? And I need to improve these levels. And, so it may or may not be, even you getting in better physical shape may or may not be evident to the naked eye. Like it might not be that you're going to look terribly different, So I think at some point you got to kind of figure out what that is. And then what's motivating it, So quick story, when we started the church, I worked at a fitness center. I was at the front desk, worked at the front desk, and pretty soon they wanted me to do sales. They wanted me to sell like personal training. So I did for like a few weeks, and then I quit. I went back to the front desk because I felt like everybody thought I was trying to sell them, and I just wanted to frankly be
You're
their
like, I'm
friend.
actually just here to talk to people.
Yeah, so they all saw me coming, and so I didn't stick with it. But when I did, I would ask people who were interested potentially in training. I was like, what are your goals? Like, why are you here? And you'd hear everything from like, hey, I'm getting married in a few months, and I'm trying to,
Yeah.
I want to look good in my wedding dress, or like sometimes some people were like they would have a child. You know, it's like, hey, my wife just had a baby, and like I want to be able to walk her down the aisle someday, and
Yeah.
da da
I want
da.
to be able to run around and play in the yard. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, for one reason or another, first of the year, somebody's taking a look, hey man, I might have gone too hard at Thanksgiving or, Christmas or whatever. I don't like where I'm at. I want to improve. I think in some way you got to decide what's motivating that and what's it going to take to get there. And again, I think it goes back to the habit conversation. What am I putting in my body? Do I need some supplementation? And then even again, back to like something like diet, which really ends up being a lot of the health is like, you see people who just go hard in the gym, but they don't take care of their diet. And because of that, sometimes it's just, they say you can't out train your diet, so to speak. Right. And that's where it can be really tough because food can be connected to a lot of things. Said it semi-jokingly, but I really wasn't like stress eating. I'll stress eat. Like I
absolutely.
sit there and watch a Buckeye game and get all stressed out. I eat a whole bag of something but then again, in life, like, there's obviously it's a pleasurable experience, to eat. And, so I think, you start to go, hey, what are some habits I could put in place, whether it's preparing meals in advance, having really healthy snacks that taste good, that, can help you, when you don't have a lot of time to go prepare something that's accessible to you.
Yeah.
And then, am I doing good in the morning, in the afternoon, but at night I'm famished? Again, all of that is solvable, very solvable with habits, but it's not going to happen if you keep doing it the way you were doing it before. So I think you got to kind of zero in on, is it getting myself active, and probably taking some time to do the educational component. There's a lot of good stuff out there. It can be a little disorienting because one person says, don't eat any of these, and the other person says, eat all of those, and they're both fit. So I think in some way you got to find what works for you, what you like to eat, your process of exercising, working out, getting your body moving. And then like we were saying before with the other, start to get some momentum. You start to see that needle move a little bit. You start to see some improvement. Some of the slang terms are kind of corny, but like making gains, ha ha ha. Like, but no, gains, like that's good. Like in some way, like I got better at this. I can run a little bit further. I was wiped out, when I started at this. Now I ran it no problem at all. That was a piece of cake. Like that's my warm up now. What used to be my peak. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it does spill over, heart, soul, mind, strength, neighbor. I think getting that physical piece in place absolutely can and should have positive benefits in other areas of your life. So it's not necessarily going to. I've seen people get physically in shape and have their marriages fall apart. So it's not a guarantee, but I think, I think it's a good thing. It sometimes sets some other stuff into motion.
I think back to like some practical tools, like I had one with the last question. I think a really good one for people. Again, not a sponsored thing, but we have a scale called an Arbo leaf, ARBO leaf, and it is a fantastic tool for someone that is looking to get in better shape because it doesn't just tell you what you weigh. And I only let our daughter use the Arbo leaf to weigh herself because at 16 years old, I don't want her to be obsessed with weight. The Arbo leaf connects to an app on your phone. So it doesn't just measure your weight, it measures your overall body composition, your muscle mass, your subcutaneous fat versus visceral fat, which visceral fat is the more dangerous type for you that's around your organs. It kind of helps you measure just a whole bunch of different things. You can set it up to kind of measure your metabolic age, things like that. So when you use that, it's really helpful because I know there have been times for me where I was looking at the scale and feeling very frustrated because I'm like, okay, the numbers aren't really moving. But then when I started using the Arbo leaf, I was realizing, well, it's because I'm gaining lean muscle mass. My visceral fat, my subcutaneous fat are going down, but I'm gaining muscle mass. So the number isn't changing that much, but my overall body composition and my overall health is really changing. So I think tools like that are really helpful to people because it helps you, like you said, get very specific about what your goals are. You know, maybe I want to bring my body fat percentage down to this, or maybe I want to gain, this many pounds of lean muscle, or those are much healthier goals than just like, I want to lose 10 pounds, right?
You know, you did something interesting the other day because you were putting up lights for Christmas, and we got one of these big trees, and you were like up in that tree, whatever, and you came in and you were like, you got like this wave of motivation about fitness, and you're like, I obviously you age, you're not going to look like you did when you were young. You're
Sure.
like, but I want to be able to climb that darn tree when I'm 70.
Yeah.
And I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And again, that you find those motivations.
That's right.
That's like,
That was honestly far more powerful motivation for me to think about, like, I'm up at the top of this, tree that's taller than our 2-story house, hanging off of it by one arm like a baby bear, hanging these lights in the top of the tree. And I thought, man, I love climbing trees. Like, I don't care that I'm 40. I love climbing trees, and I love being able to do that. And I love having my freedom and my mobility. That's what I care about protecting. So what type of things do I need to do to protect that ability to have freedom and mobility when I'm older, that I can still go and do the things that I want to physically do, and I'm not limited?
By the way, to the listeners who are listening to this, some of you, I'm sure, know lots about, different resources. You mentioned Arbo Leaf, maybe other supplementation, or there's so many things out there now, whether it's apps or resources that can just help people, continue to monitor their health. So if you have suggestions of things that have worked for
That's
you,
great.
feel free to, send
drop
those
it.
in. And I know I'd love to see them.
Sure, absolutely. I think having, everybody always says, find your why, find your why. And that can be a little hard to do sometimes, because I think sometimes we even have really big, grandiose whys. I want to be, around forever and whatever. And I'm not saying those things are wrong. For some people, like, that isn't enough motivation. But sometimes it does need to be more specific. Like, I want to be able to climb a tree.
Yeah.
For you, I know part of the reason you hate cardio, but part of the reason that you've focused more on that kind of thing is there's been a history of, heart attacks, heart health issues in your family. You had high blood pressure for a while, never to the point that you needed medication, but pretty darn high for a guy of your age and fitness, right? And so it's like you recognize these are some of the things that you might be predisposed to have an issue with, and you go, I don't want to have a heart attack in the next 10 years. So I need to start doing things to take care of my heart.
I want to say too, like, I appreciate the responsibilities that I have, whether it's with our family, with our church and all this. And a lot of times it's a lot, like it's a lot to juggle. And I go, okay, if this really great purpose that I feel like God's blessed me with, and these responsibilities, my health, my physical health is either going to make that more manageable, or it's going to be another burden for me to bear.
Yeah.
Like if I'm unhealthy physically, how am I going to be able to focus and have the energy to carry these great responsibilities that I've prayed for and I've worked for, and now I have them. And now it's like, okay, now my body, my physical health is just another weight I have to bear, or it's something that's actually putting fuel in me to be able to
Manage
to be able to manage and to be able to maintain this responsibility, and sometimes help it to grow and go to the next level. If it's not producing energy and it's draining energy, I probably won't be able to do the things that I really want to do. So anyway,
Yeah, that's
cool.
good.
Let's keep rolling.
Next one. Ooh,
I want to read through the whole Bible this year. What is your advice on how to approach it? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I think you already, I know, have been kind of putting pieces in place to
Yeah.
help people do this. So
Yes.
just shout out, they need to tune in the new year for,
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
the first 15 weeks of the season, because you've
You've
got
been listening. You've been out here
through
listening.
Easter.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a great question. We're doing a series at ONE.CHURCH. 15 weeks, and we're calling it Cover to Cover. So we're looking at the Bible. It's been, I started working on it kind of in the middle of last year, because the Bible is certainly a complicated book, right? It's a very unique book, really unique. 66 books written over about 1,500 years on multiple continents, multiple literary styles, different genres, different authors, and yet it carries this meta narrative, this storyline that kind of pulls it all together, right? So it's almost like the story of Shaylyn. Your whole life, you could tell your story in a paragraph. That would be the meta narrative. But then there's been a bazillion little stories that all play within that, and you can take them apart one at a time and look at them on their own, but you got to kind of know how that fits into the overall story of Shaylyn. So the Bible's kind of built that way, right?
That's a good description.
So that's kind of what I want to do, what I'm going to do my best to do over those 15 weeks with our church, so that people can understand that and then know how to sort of dig into it. So would encourage you, if you don't usually tune in, it might be worth it from that perspective. It is a great exercise for me, because I'm like, wow, 15 weeks feels like a long time, but it's really not when you're take that kind of undertaking. Okay, let me throw this thought. I don't want to dampen anyone's spirit around reading the whole Bible or reading the Bible and understanding it. I love the Bible, and it's God's word. It's amazing. So anything I can do to fan the flame of someone reading it, I want to do. I would, if I was sitting down with this person, I probably would ask a bunch of questions and try to listen. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish by doing this? Like, because kind of seeing where they're starting from, I think the goal for a lot of people in reading it through is, hey, I want to take this book, this huge book, because I think it's important. And in this year process, I want to put all of it into my mind. I want to understand it completely. And I think there's been a lot of people who have read the Bible cover to cover, some who have done it more than once, that still don't really understand it very well. So I think it's going to be like, how are you approaching it? And then also, I think the idea of trying to fit the whole Bible into your brain is probably not going to happen. So I got to actually look this up real quick. It's a quote from N.T. Wright, who is a great thinker, theologian of our time. I think he's like our generation's C.S. Lewis, which is high praise for me, because I think C.S. Lewis is amazing. Okay, so here's a quote from N.T. Wright in his book, The Gospel of John. He wrote, I don't know that any of us will ever be able to hold all this in our minds at any one time. That's part of the point. You can no more read this story at one level only than you can plant a garden in a cup of coffee. I'm going to read that again. I don't know that any of us will ever be able to hold all this in our minds at any one time. That's part of the point. You can no more read this story at one level only than you can plant a garden in a coffee cup. The only way forward is to allow all the different ideas and levels, the clashes of meaning and misunderstanding, echo around until they produce prayer, awe, silence, and love.
Wow.
So I think to go,
So
hey,
good.
I'm going to read the Bible this year, cover to
So
cover,
good.
and I'm going to master it. And okay, cool, check. Now I know it all.
Yeah.
I just think, like, just make sure that's not your starting point, because that's not going to happen. And I think sometimes, again, even it seems like a year, if you did 365 days, didn't miss a day, it's like, yeah, okay. Like, there's a bunch of those reading plans out there. I've done them myself.
I was going to say, I did one in high school
Yeah.
and read through the entire Bible in a year. And
It's still a ton.
it's still
It's
a
a
ton.
ton.
And I will say your absorption is just not the same. There's so much that ends up becoming just a matter of discipline,
Yeah.
of sitting there and reading it. And you look up and you're like, I just went through all those chapters. I'm not really sure what I was supposed to get from that.
You might be better off to take a step back and to go, hey, I want to understand, again, some of this like cover to cover stuff that I started talking about. I don't want to be redundant, but to really understand the Bible and what it is,
Yeah.
and maybe how to read it.
Yeah.
And again, you can watch a lot of stuff at the Bible Project. We mentioned some of those resources. Here's another one. This is big, and I'm going to say this throughout the Cover to Cover series a lot. Get a good study Bible. And I recommended
That's huge.
in one of our previous episodes a really good study Bible is one of the best. It's the best one I've ever seen. Again, I get no kickback from it. This is really just paying it forward. But getting a good study Bible, understanding historical, cultural, like they will explain so much to you. So going, how do I want to approach it, and focusing there and learning maybe some more about the Bible before you just tear into books of the Bible and then start going, well, what does that mean? You might end up
Accidentally
getting
drawing
better.
wrong conclusions.
Yeah. You probably end up getting a better return on that investment of time, energy, and focus
Yeah.
to take a step back and to do that.
I will say one thing I think is a sad side effect sometimes that I've seen, and I know for myself as a stupid high school student, like that I experienced to some degree. But, it's like you read through the whole Bible, you're like, I know there were entire swaths of this that I just did not fully comprehend. But you kind of walk away feeling a little superior because I read the whole Bible in a year. And it's like, wow, what a loss. I mean, talk about ultimate forest for the trees moment, right? Like that you felt proud of yourself that you read through the Bible in a year and you didn't get the point,
It could be a false positive,
It could
right?
be
Like,
a massive false positive.
Like I don't mean to be disrespectful or condescending or anything. I am absolutely a work in progress myself. I'm learning all the time new things and things I believed or thought that were wrong and all this. But I've had a lot of people over the years who I've talked to who have claimed, yeah, I've read the Bible cover to cover. And some say, I've read it cover to cover, and they have a specific number of times. I read it cover to cover 9 times. And then I hear them talk about it, and I'm like,
you read it, but I don't think you absorbed it.
You didn't think deeply enough about that.
Right.
If I have this goal I have to hit, and so I'm gonna have to read 3 chapters a day, or all the stuff you're doing, do you have time? Are you taking the right pace?
Yeah.
That you go and you come across something and you're like, I don't have time to dig into that. I got to finish my day's reading.
Right.
So I just go flying past it, and it's like, no, that was actually
You
the
could
whole
miss a
point
lot.
right there. You went right over the point. So I think in some ways, like if you think almost taking what we just talked about, the physical health thing, almost as a metaphor, if you were really ambitious to want to get in physical shape, but you didn't take any time to study smart ways to do fitness.
Sure.
So
you
you're
could
just
crash
all of a
diet,
sudden,
lose 30
you
pounds, and be in worse health.
Or you crash diet, or you just go, hey, I'm just going to start running.
Yeah.
I'm going to run a marathon. Well, dude, that's fine. That may or may not be the thing that's going to get you into
Better health.
your better physical health, right? So taking some time to learn about nutrition, to learn about exercise physiology, to ask some good questions.
To learn about your own body and your own blood work and what you
Now
are missing. And
you're efficiently
There's a lot
getting
there.
healthy versus the other. So I think in a similar way with the Bible, love the ambition. I love the desire. I love the hunger and thirst. That's wonderful. Take a little step back and make sure you're approaching it the right way. And I would say, I would say, don't feel necessarily this like
pressure.
I'm going to be making God more proud if I read all the way through the whole Bible.
Yeah.
Like, when as you kind of learn more about it, you might not even feel a need to do that right away, right? You might start, digging into different areas.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents. And again, if you
it's
feel
great.
led to do it, by all means, go to the Bible app. It has a ton of reading plans. It'll ding right up on your phone. You can practical things. You can redeem your drive time. If you drive, you can listen to it. You can do all that. I saw one, I think it was in the podcast app or whatever, but it was like a Bible reading plan. And then it was like a podcast you can listen to that does,
unpacks it.
that like talks about
That's
it.
great.
And I listened to a few of the episodes. A few of them I didn't love, but they weren't, it's certainly better than not doing it. But all that to say, that's my thoughts on it.
Love it.
We just got dinged.
Perfect.
And we took a lot of time talking about songs we don't like. I hope we didn't offend anybody. I'd like to apologize to Wham. I'd like to apologize to Phil Collins. I'm not apologizing to the Chainsmokers. That's I mean,
There's no.
I'm
There's just no excuse.
maybe I should apologize to the Chainsmokers.
I'd like to apologize to Shaylyn for putting her country music business out there
That's all right. That's all right.
in the spirit of apology.
It's you kept me honest, so no need to apologize.
Shaylyn, do you have anything to say to Phil Collins?
I-
And apologies.
Yeah, Phil, I think you're a wonderful person. You seem very dedicated to your craft.
What do you love about Phil?
Haircut.
Definitely.
All right, let's let these people go. Thanks for joining us at the
Have
Dialogue
a great
Podcast.
week, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone. We love you. See you next week.